Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Dobson 777A here. Well, we finally are getting some rain. We've kind of been in a bit of a drought over the last week or so, and it's really nice. It figures after I was out there watering the last couple of days that it finally would roll in here. It was a little delayed. I think it was supposed to start earlier today, but we're getting some sprinkles. Not any gully washers. It's just supposed to be some drizzling over the next couple of days. Hey, Carlos. But saw some more saber rattling from Russia today. Russia's like, we're thinking about maybe not selling our oil in dollars anymore. We're going to start using the euro or the yuan or something else. Yuan, however you pronounce the Chinese currency. So it's kind of interesting seeing this happening. I think they know we got a weak president and they're flexing their muscles. So we'll see. And then I saw a really nice article during dinner I was reading, and it looks like someone's done some very good calculations, which I've heard these numbers repeated multiple times, but this looked like the deeper dive of, China having 20 tons of gold or 20,000 tons, I think it is, where we have like 8,000 tons. And they're just waiting for China to all of a sudden, tell everybody that's what they've got. And, but at the same time, the U.S. is doing a good job shooting themselves in the foot as well as all the other fiat currencies. So they may just let the thing, fall down on its own and they'll be sitting on the end. Somebody mentioned the other day, he who owns the gold makes the rules. And that's kind of the way it's going to work. So don't know. It's really kind of a problematic, though. It's a shame to see us destroying our currency as fast as we are. Carlos is getting the rainy season. Are you getting the afternoon rains right now, or are you just getting rain all the time? And that's when I lived in Tampa Bay area, and you could almost set your clock certain times of year, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, those thunderstorms would come rolling in. Didn't rain for very long, but it could be torrential rains in a very short amount of time. I know I was out fishing before and got caught in it trying to come back in. It was like driving in, hailstorm when you're going 40 miles an hour. But yeah, we're not seeing much here at all right now. Let me see. So I'm looking at gold price. We had a pretty nice recovery Friday. Went from 1871 back up into the 1890 to 1895 range, and silver went from 2736 up to 2780. So silver has done very well, kind of jumping back up again. So there's an article on Zero Hedge talking about inflation, and it's all about the fact that we have this artificial pumping that's going on with the Fed, and a lot of people will be doing crazy leverage, and eventually what's going to happen is they talk about, people when the tide goes out that they don't have any, either any clothes or they don't have, proper protection. And so I don't know when this is going to happen, but it tends to always happen, and it's going to be catastrophic, as we've seen periodically when this happens. So I just want to make sure that you guys are positioned appropriately and not too aggressive, because this could be quite exciting when this, to say the least, when this thing comes down. I'm still not looking at that it's going to be, the end of the world or anything like that, unless we actually see the currency reset because of China and Russia doing their things. But right now, just the Fed, the way they're pumping it, and it's not just the Fed here, it's across the world. So we're going to see these fiat currencies continue to be pumped up, and that's going to have unintended consequences of people getting, unfortunately, when you think about years of just going up, people get lackadaisical. They don't think that it could ever go down. And I've seen this over and over again. It's typically like a 10-year cycle, and people just get caught with their pants down, and it's a mess. And it's really unnecessary, and it's just greed that does that. So yeah, the end of the system of things is not the end of the world. That's correct. And there's going to be opportunities. Now, I will tell you that the last opportunity, when the market crashed in 2006, it took several years, but the real opportunity was not the precious metals, it was the real estate. So you don't know what it's going to be. Oh, excuse me. So you just got to be, I used to talk about tennis. They taught us keep your feet moving. So don't be stuck, excuse me, on one thing. Like I hear people, they're stuck in silver or they're stuck in Bitcoin or whatever. I want you to think about, what is the opportunity? And I'm going to try to divine what that is. But unfortunately, when things come down, it takes a long time for things to rattle through. Like you think about 2007, 2008 is when the market crashed and everybody lost their jobs, and it took a long time to go through short sales and foreclosures, and the bank were sitting on just huge inventory and they could only release them a little bit at a time. And the interest rates kept going down, down, down because they were trying to, help move the inventory. But the more houses they released, the more the prices reduced. And it just took years before the bottom. And I'm going to say it was somewhere mid 2012. If you go back and look at where interest rates bottomed and you saw the prices bottom, there will be, it's just one of those things that, and I'm telling you kind of locally where I was looking here in Georgia, but I saw the same thing in Florida and other places. And a lot of my investment guys, they were saying at the end of 2011, buy any real estate you can find, buy. And I waited till 2012 till, I really was going to start placing my bets. And it took a long time before, rents really caught up and started, doing something. So I don't know that we're going to see real estate this time because they're just behind in building. But I will tell you, new home construction is being hurt really bad because of the material costs. And so I think that's actually going to put a squeeze on building homes, and that's going to make existing properties go up even more. Now, I don't know how many homes are going to go into short sale and foreclosure. It's the government. You just can't trust any of the data right now. But all of that is about to start happening unless they extend that CDC thing again. If they extend that CDC thing, they're just going to delay it again. And we just will not know how bad things are. But if all of a sudden, and it takes time to clear them. It takes time to go through these magistrate courts and everything. So they can only do so many. And so it kind of filters them onto the market, banks and everything. It just takes time. So don't expect this to be something that's just going to be instantly. And I was just at dinner, and this guy next to me, he was telling me he was in one of the big, I won't mention the name of the company. And he says, we are buying properties left and right, and we're renting them because it's just unbelievable. We can make, $500 a house on these 250K houses. And I'm like, geez, that's not much. You got to think about what your taxes, insurance, and everything else are. So I was asking him, are you aware of like the CDC thing where you can't evict people? And the numbers across the country is like 20% of properties they're upside down from, not being able to get tenants out. And he was like, I don't know anything about that. I go, well, look, it's right here. I brought it up on the magistrate court locally. I said, this is what it is. The Superior Court says, this is what the CDC says. We can't evict. All they got to do is fill out this form. And I told him all the stuff I was going through. And I said, maybe at the end of June, we'll be able to start evicting. So he kind of left after I talked to him because I think I exposed that he is not in that industry to know. He would have known this because if they've got hundreds of homes, they would have had lots of people they were trying to get out. It's just a factor right now. So anyways, I just find it kind of interesting. When you get in there, try to work it. Now, let me tell you a story about my rental properties because magically, now don't forget, I went to a collection agency. I filed with an attorney in Florida for some insufficient funds checks because my IRA was in Florida. I had a court date set up with magistrate court. It's probably going to be beginning of July. And so I was hitting at all of these different areas and I was sending notes, every month when they didn't pay or whatever else. Well, magically, all of a sudden, after the collection agencies stuff and the attorney stuff started hitting, all of a sudden I get a call and they paid all of the what do they call it? The judgment that we had last year, as well as the 3 months that had not been paid this year. I think it was December, and 2 more months this year. And they're saying by the end of this month, they will have all the fees and everything else paid. So, hallelujah. I'll believe when I see it, but I did get the first big chunk. They did, what do they call it? Cashier's check. And so I know that that part was paid. Now we just got to do all the fees and everything else. So it does help, when you apply force. I don't like doing all this stuff because all it does is make it more and more difficult for people to get caught up. But at the same time, man, that's a lot of work doing this stuff. And the problem is the collection agency asked for 30%. So, they got to go pay the 30% for the collection agency stuff. But anyways, just wanted you to know, it looks like that finally is getting out of the way. And that takes a load off of me because, man, my account was going nowhere with no income coming in. So I need to got to have reserves, folks. Stuff happens. ACs go out, whatever. You got to have money to cover that stuff. And pretty soon we're actually going to have, the real estate taxes before you know it. And so got to keep that money coming in. Currency, not money. It's currency. Got to use the right terminology. So Linda says, you always make a lot of common sense to me, and I thank you for good ideas. Carlos, I'm hoping to see some decline in real estate if there's some supply on the market when these moratoriums end. Now, look, these short sales and foreclosures, you can pick up some dogs. I never tried to buy the prettiest house in the neighborhood. I was trying to buy kind of like the ugly puppy and then fix it up and turn it into a rental. Some people, if you're looking at more short term and you want to do a flip or something, go ahead, but just be aware that, you never know when we're going to be teetering and you may not be able to unload the property. That's one of the problems when the property values are going down, people will not buy because they're waiting to find what the bottom is. And it's funny because they'll buy all the way up to the top. But I'm telling you, whenever that thing starts going down, they just stop buying. So this is going to be really curious how this works. Again, I don't know what percentage of people. I mean, there's a bunch of people that lost their jobs, but it was, I think, the majority of them were like service industry. So I don't know how many of those are tied to homes or not. Might be more apartments and stuff like that. Don't know. I don't know how many of those. You think about people working in the restaurant business and bartending, whatever. How many of them actually, have a mortgage or something? I don't know. All right, let me look at something else here. Oh, I saw a really cool thing. Let me see if I can bring it up. Probably should just do it on here. Let me do it that way. Very interesting. Somebody did something, and I thought it was so clever the way they did it. But, all right, let me see if I can get this on here where it shows up. What happened? Crap. Can you see that? I trust my immune system. I don't know why it doesn't stay up. Let me find something else. Here we go. I don't know if that'll focus. There it is. I trust my immune system, not a shot. And it says in that heart, my DNA, my choice. Now think about how they're playing that off of like the pro-abortion people, what they're doing. I found that amazing. And I have to try to find out where that thing is, but I think that would be good for a lot of people to emulate that, because you just think about, they want to have these COVID passports and everything else. And people are like, well, wait a minute. People can have like abortions on demand and stuff. Well, why do I have to have a shot? A lot of us, we probably already have antibodies now. So why the heck do we need a shot? They don't want to answer that question because it's all about compliance. But I just thought that was creative, and you know, the country's kind of split. You know, they're always trying to split the country and cause division and everything else. But you know, reality is you got to fight for your rights. Don't roll over on this stuff. If you're healthy, you know, don't take chances with your body. Like I said, I have this feeling that this is they're trying to program our DNA like they would a computer. And so this is just the beginning where they're going to be manipulating the DNA. And this is like version 1.0 or whatever they started with. It might be 0.1 as to try it and see if they can get people going in that direction. You'll have periodic updates every year. Think about, like, they got you trained for the flu shot. Now they're going to have this thing 2 or 3 times a year. You're going to get it, and it's going to have, you know, upgrades. All of the dang side effects that I'm seeing too, with heart problems and everything else. Hey, I'm ahead of things. Finally, normally this thing's telling me I got to do the live stream, but I'm ahead of it for once. How about that? Says Elon Musk said they can turn you into a butterfly if they want to. Yeah, very possibly. Maybe more like The Fly. Do you remember that movie, The Fly? I don't know. I'm not thrilled about any of this stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Let me see what platinum ended up for the day. It's Friday. Oh, got to turn off got advertising coming in here. So platinum is sitting at 1160. So everything took a little bit of a dump. We were actually doing really good there for a while. I want to see platinum back up to about 1260. Actually, it looks like 1250 was the last high. So anyways, I don't know if you guys saw, I did pump out some videos. I did one on my garden, and I did another one. Was it on the chickens or something? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was the Cornish rocks, the chicks and everything. I had taken videos of over the last 3 weeks of everything. So those are out there, and I mean, they're like regular TV shows, probably minimum of 20 minutes. I ate a pizza, and it was everything on it. So I'm having a little bit of a reaction, and you know, I always put those what do they call it, the dried peppers on there, which really knocks it up another level. Caterpillars change their DNA when they convert to a butterfly, and kind of said that's how the MMA vax works, changing your DNA, and they'll be able to do anything, reserve age, cure cancer, etc. Wow, Danny Dan bought some collectible slabs, and West Point slabs, and a 20 roll of American Silver Eagles. Yeah, I kind of I probably need to go back and talk about why I pretty much focus 99.9% on the U.S. Mint coins. So like for gold, it's American Gold Eagles and Buffaloes, but for silver, American Silver Eagles and Platinum Eagles. And the reason why is when you go look at the reporting requirements, there's no reporting requirements for these dealers for buying or selling. It's on the trust system for you to report through the IRS. But if you buy any of these other things, there's a certain number of ounces or something that actually will be reportable buying and selling. So I've decided to try to just be, I mean, first off, if you're buying from the U.S. Mint, eventually I think they're going to recognize it's actually U.S. money anyways. So why would you have reporting? But when you do the rounds or the bars or whatever else that's other than the U.S. Mint stuff, then you're kind of getting into areas that are, you know, reporting problems. And so just think about it that way. Now, if you end up selling to individuals and stuff, you can kind of get around that. But who knows how you're going to work? Right now, you got to have the money changers, which are the dealers, to do do it effectively. The Red Yeti tumbler. Now, let me tell you this. This is actually, I don't know what that company is. This has got like an A on here. I forget. This is like a camping company. And we got this at work for the company I worked from for engineering day. They used to always give us kind of like goofy things, but this was like, and I mean, I've had this forever. I bet you I've had this 6 years, and this has been fantastic. It really keeps things cold. This is the stainless, and it's got double wall with the vacuum in between, and it doesn't sweat. It's unbelievable. I don't know, is it on the bottom? No, this thing's been painted anyways for that color because that was the color of our company. But I've had that for a long time. I take it on trips, because I fill it up with water when we go, or iced tea or whatever, and it holds a lot, and it's easy. Yeah, I didn't paint it. The company did. The company had a copyrighted color for their name, and so I don't know how they did it, but they got the company to do that for us. It was pretty nice. Let me see. There were these videos I've been watching where you talk about anti-gun. Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can find that real quick. There's some videos I kind of recommend. I might post some of them on the community tab, but there's this doggone funny videos of it actually says AFT on the shirt instead of ATF. And it's this guy talks about all of the laws, and they're trying to show two guns side by side, and you look at them from the pictures, they look virtually identical, but one is acceptable and one is not. And so they go through trying to explain it, and half the time he's like, I don't know why. It's just this one is a newer design, which has a newer safety feature. You know how sometimes they have a metal block that comes in to prevents the hammer to come in case you drop the gun. That is not acceptable because it's new, where the other one is acceptable because they've been selling it forever. And he's just saying, well, don't you want the safer gun? No, it doesn't work that way. It's new. And then anyways, it was just actually kind of comical. And I noticed that they're starting to do more and more of these videos, and it's like a cartoon too. I wish I could remember what the name of it was, but all of a sudden it came up on my feed today, and I sat there and watched through the whole thing, and I just thought it was fantastic. I don't think I put it on my thing where I subscribed, and I should. Oh, here it is. It's called Firearms Unknown. So anybody that's into firearms, you ought to watch this. But this is like the one I watched today. ATF agent learns how weapons are classified. It's quite comical, And the one before that was about the California rules. So Fred Wozniak, I don't understand what you're saying. What is anti-gun? My thermos is anti-gun? I don't know what this company is. It's not marked in any way, so I can't, or maybe I've worn it off because I've had it so long. I mean, I'm telling you, I use that every day. Are you saying the Yeti is anti-gun? I don't know. Oh man, I can feel the AC working. It is so humid today, or the last couple of days. I go outside for a couple hours in the morning. I have to do some things with the animals, and I'm usually doing a little bit in the garden, and then I go back in the evening just before the sun sets and doing the same thing. And it's like I have to go take a shower again because the stupid humidity is ridiculous. You'll just get soaking wet out there. Yeah, my local store here, I've been trying to get some 380 because somebody I know shoots a 380, and I told this person, don't ever buy 380s because it's an oddball caliber. You got to stick with like the 9 or the 45 or something like that, and you'll have a better chance getting it. So for weeks I've been going to this one gun place, and the guy says, you got to get here on Wednesdays because that's when we get our orders. And there's usually people standing here and they clean it out. So I've been trying. I always forget about Wednesdays. They won't hold it for anybody. Oh, ATF. Okay, I got you. Yeah, this thing is comical. I'm telling you, you got to look up Firearms Unknown. I'll try to post it on the. Every time I find something interesting, I try to put it up there for you so that you can see. I was doing some research because you guys know the background of some of the things that I've been going through, and I'm probably going to roll this into a video. But I was looking up the statistics about divorces and how many times. Because remember, it's over 70% of the women initiate divorce. And they'll say, well, it's always because of abuse or whatever. Well, not necessarily. It's just a lot of times women just say it's time to go do something else. It's grass is greener. But I was reading all these articles of the number of, and by the way, I worked with a lot of women at work, and I know a lot of them that got divorced, and many of them confided with me that was the worst thing they ever did. They made a huge mistake. They should have never gotten divorced. And they carry this guilt with them for the rest of their life. But here's one that I thought was really interesting. This woman says, I wish I had loved him the way he needed to be loved. It wasn't until our divorce that I learned about the 5 love languages. Mine is physical touch and quality time, while his are acts of service and words of affirmation. Looking back, I know that our love languages were in constant conflict. When I wanted to go for family walks after dinner, he wanted to make sure the dishes were washed and put away. When I wanted to lie on the couch and curl up with my head in his lap after kids were asleep, he wanted to clean up the toys in the living room and hear my thanks for the fact he would be able to start the next day clutter-free. We both feel and show love in very different ways, which is something I didn't recognize at the time. When he did those things he felt were important, I criticized him, which was the exact opposite of what he needed to feel loved. So this is one of the things. And then the other thing I discovered, and by the way, there's a huge percentage, like 25% of women that are on medication for depression and stuff like that. And I've been trying to dig up the research to try to figure out at what age, if it's consistent across all ages, or if it's more as they get older when, they become cat women and stuff, and, never found a spouse or got divorced and are upset that, they learn later they made a huge mistake. So I'm trying to dig that and get this more dug in. But one of the things I discovered, which is really curious, is if you marry a twin, or even if you are a twin, you need to be aware that you're at a huge risk of a serious psychiatric disorder if your twin dies. Think of it this way. How many times have you heard of somebody being married for 50 plus years and one of the spouses dies and then the other one dies very soon thereafter, sometimes within hours, sometimes within days? It's like part of you died because you were married so long, you finished each other's sentences, all this kind of stuff, and it's catastrophic. Now imagine if you were a twin. I mean, I know some twins when they were younger, they developed their own language, and it was quite amazing. And it wasn't until they got socialized in school that started breaking apart. But some of these twins that I've known at work and others, when their twin died, a lot of these, even women, had heart attacks. They could not cope with the fact the person that they had been together for, like, let's say 54 years is all of a sudden gone. And they used to talk for 2 hours a day or more. And all of a sudden that person is not there to talk, to comfort, to whatever. And I mean, sometimes there's like a dominant twin and then the other one is, kind of follows their lead. And so that makes it complicated as well. And there's statistics that talk about whether you're a fraternal or identical. They call it something else, meiotic or something. I can't remember. I'm not going to get into the technical terms between the two, but in any event, surprisingly, these psychiatrists are struggling to figure out how they're supposed to help these people, because it's like half of the person has died and they don't know how to fill that gap, because, friends are friends, but, a twin is something totally different. And especially if they are identical, they actually share the same DNA when they were born, the same egg. And so it's kind of interesting when you look at this. But um, I think a lot of times women get divorced uh, because they're having trouble. They don't understand. And one of the videos the other day, I showed the difference between men and women's brains. And when I do this whole video, I'm going to try to dig into this, and it's going to be almost like taking the technical papers and break it out. But you think about, it's easier to blame somebody else for your problems than it is to understand that there's potentially a serious underlying issue. And so this particular thing that I've uncovered is not well known. You don't hear about it in the media. This twin stuff is really a curious thing. And I don't know what the incidence of twins are versus the rest of the population. I'll try to put that all together, but it's one of those things that I'm just now investigating, and it's just, I find it just very, very curious of why this happens. Oh, I like this. In divorce, the house is always divided. She stays inside, you stay outside. Yeah, ring that bell. Yeah, there's several different places you can find that reporting requirements. I just want people to be aware that that should be a factor in your purchasing decisions. And also, I've done analysis before. I haven't done it recently, but I used to do the buy sell analysis, and I always found that because of the trust factor of the U.S. Mint, or we'll just say sovereign mint coins, you actually have, even though you may pay a little more to buy it, you get a lot more selling back. So they give you a premium, and you typically come out ahead compared to the bars and the rounds. Linda says, yes, divorce is always hard. It's always starting all over again, kind of like moving, only emotional. So the Basel III, it's kind of funny. When you go to these different YouTube channels, you'll see the ones that are pushing, metals, and they're like, oh my God, this is going to be great for the metals. We're going to be doing all this. But when I go look at the more serious channels that are not, pushing sales and whatever, nobody really knows or believes that this Basel III, which by the way has been going on for a long time. I got to go back and look. It's 2012 or something when Basel III, they started implementing it. So you might find that people will always find a backdoor for doing it. And you might find some people that say, okay, screw it, we're not going to play in this area anymore. And they're going to go somewhere else. And so the money goes away, and it may not be as positive event as you think. But remember, Basel III it's kind of like, there's all these plates are spinning, right? We have Russia and China are doing stuff to kind of de-dollarize. Excuse me. We have our own country and all these other countries that are devaluating their currencies by just print. So you have to kind of weigh all of this stuff. And I kind of think the fact that our currency, even though I haven't seen good data saying how much of it has actually been released into the economy, but the fact that we're seeing such significant increases in pricing is telling you that some of this currency is actually getting out there. I mean, this is actually what they talked about, helicopter money, when they're, giving all this money for COVID thing. Now they're trying to go back to China and say, hey, you need to write us a check for $10 trillion. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Nobody knows. As I've said since the beginning of the time, there's a team behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, and they determine what things are going to be. And they can control it for a long time, but sometimes it gets out of control. So the question is, when's it going to happen? Nobody knows. It can go a long time before anything really happens. But it looks like there's absolutely a concerted effort to de-dollarize. And that means that we lose our benefit of the dollar being the world currency, because people just say we're not going to use it anymore. And we're going to eventually discover that we're all alone and we piss so many people off, the dollar's just going to be done. And there'll be another Bretton Woods or whatever those things were, and they'll decide what the new thing's going to be. And it's just, that's what's going to happen. Or we're going to be having wars or something else to try to hide the fact. So Silver Saber, by the way, I did find there were tons of people that were blocked. And I don't know what happened. Sometimes maybe I'm trying to comment and think I hit the wrong button because I'm doing it on the phone half the time late at night. But I did clear all of the people that were blocked. And I mean, there's a lot of Bitcoin people too that were blocked, but all these people are now unblocked. So don't be surprised as they start waking back up to this channel and we start getting all kinds of wild, wild west. So I'm not going to be as Johnny on the spot on this stuff. I'll let you guys kind of police the channel a lot. But, if people start getting really crazy, I will do something. But which way do you think gold, silver, platinum will end up in 2021? The beginning of the year, I was saying gold was going to be like 2,200. Silver, I'd like to think we're going to get to 30, but I don't know if we're going to quite get to 30. Platinum, I'd like to think about 1,600, but those would be wild ass guesses. I need to do some charts to see what it looks like, but there's a lot of things have to kind of fall in place, and a lot of things have to kind of not happen for that to happen. So we'll see. But it looks like eventually people are going to wake up on they're going to wake up on what's happening with inflation. But I don't think a lot of people have access to currency to go buy precious metals. So we'll see. This is going to be more of, we'll say, like money managers and stuff, fund managers are going to be having the currency to go do something. I don't think individuals, they're all locked up in 401ks and stuff, and you can't buy physicals there easily. So 2011, you're telling me that the Basel III started in 2014 was when they started implementing some of the things. So they started putting together the rules. And I've heard certain groups still are operating on waivers, and they may extend this with waivers and stuff. So that's why I said I don't think it's going to be this hard, fast thing. Now I'm going to tell you, when I try to make a decision like this, I go look at a lot of different inputs of opinions and things, because obviously I'm not sitting here day in, day out studying the raw data, but it also seems logical to me that we're not going to see a sea change. Although I will tell you, when sometimes currencies are devalued like 15% overnight. I remember China doing that, I think, more than once. So it will be something that could happen overnight. I mean, you can imagine. What I say, we were at like 1890 or something times 1.15. I mean, we could jump all the way up to roughly 2,200 just in an overnight change. All right, you always have to move your money from precious metals, real estate, stocks, cash. I've 2 and 3 times it this way in a few years. Banks pay nothing, inflation steals it. Yeah, so there's a rotation that occurs, and I'm constantly looking at that. So, I actually rotated out of precious metals back in 2011, 2012, whenever it was, to move into real estate, because real estate was the opportunity of a lifetime. And then back in time starts going, was it 2018? I think 2018, I started getting back into the precious metals again. So my belief is that you want to implement a gold standard or quasi-gold standard, you have to destroy the speculative paper market first. That could be, but we just don't want to be a Venezuela. I thought Trump was on the right path of trying to bring manufacturing back into the country, but it looks like we're trying to undo all that again for China. So yin and yang fighting here. I mean, we do have natural resources and stuff, but it's, man, it's just like if you don't have manufacturing, you're screwed. I never dropped miners last year. I've had miners the whole time. Now, what I did last year is I sold half of my position, but then I loaded back up again. So I've never gotten completely out of miners, just half a position. If you remember, I sold some silver and I bought more miners. Yeah, I'm still holding. I forget what percentage. Yeah, occasionally, if you're a member, you get to see the miners that I'm still holding. Well, actually, you don't see my portfolio, but you see the improved portfolio, which is a good percentage of my portfolio. And then I also have the ETF portfolio. It's just when things have been trading sideways, it doesn't do much good to be showing those charts. So periodically, I throw them up when we get some decent moves. Like when we shot up to 1900, I showed the portfolios again. But remember, I build the foundation with gold at the base of the foundation for like a pyramid. And then I had, some platinum and silver. And then my miners were filling up the very speculative part. But gold is my foundation. And that way I'm not hit as hard. You got to look at it as a total portfolio. Since I'm not behind the curtain, it's really hard to say exactly what's going to happen. We don't know. I mean, hell, if we start going into a war, all bets are off. People start lobbing nukes or something, we don't know. So what's happening out there? Let me see what the other thing was. I had a bunch of news all lined up here. Let's see. I don't know if you saw the article. Eos, Ocasio-Cortez, she was talking about her grandmother was living in squalor in Puerto Rico and it's all Trump's fault, and people were getting after her. So, well, what the hell? You're making lots of money. You got two big apartments. So, why aren't you helping her? Why is it everybody else's job? And so one of I forget what the name of the online newspaper, he started a GoFundMe for his mother, and it raised over like $100,000. And then the family came back and says, no, we don't want your money, because they knew it was all a bunch of conservatives and stuff. And so now everybody's like, now wait a minute, you complain that she is living in squalor. We try to take care of it, and you don't want us to take care of it. So, and still asking her, why isn't she taking care of it? So it's kind of funny. So Silver Saber, let's talk about, what do we think the value is? Do you see them stopping any spending? I mean, they're talking about, what is it, like $4 trillion infrastructure spending and everything. I mean, it's astronomical amount of currency that's being put into things. So you got to remember that gold is the thing where you're just trying to preserve your wealth. It's not really a speculation at this point until it becomes clear that they're done screwing around this area and we're going to start going this way. And when they do that, then you got to say, okay, is it time to massage? But right now, I don't see any end to this printing that's doing this. And it's going to start going parabolic if So we talked about this probably a year ago, that the initial stuff that we were seeing was just this ripple that was starting. And, if you recognize the direction we were going, you're in the right position. And then eventually these become bigger and bigger waves. And then eventually it's like a tsunami. So right now, a good portion of your portfolio in gold is a really good idea for currency protection. But I still would argue, between all of the miners and physical precious metals, probably no more than 25%, 30% max. A lot of people, they just go ape shit on this. And I think that's a mistake. Remember, I have a lot of real estate because real estate is very good protection and it's paying you every day. So I would say, um, if you haven't gotten in, if you think gold in a couple of years is going to be 3,000, then it's still a good time to buy, right? It's undervalued. They're not, I mean, anybody give me a reason why they're going to stop printing? I mean, even if we go to war, you're going to print the hell out of it to go buy bombs and everything else, pay people. So it's just going to get worse. So I don't see anything right now that's indicating that we're stopping. In fact, I just see it's accelerating. Yep. So money printing is full throttle. Brad, when they see inflation in food, they will just throw more money at it, which will make it worse. Yeah. What they're going to do is they're going to give people more currency. Just like, I mean, there's these, what is it, child credit things. They're freaking throwing a bunch of money at people that have kids. So a lot of this is just kind of bizarre, but there is no way out now. See, that's the old paint yourself in a corner. What are you going to do? If they don't placate the minions beneath them, then all of a sudden guillotines are being set up, and all of the people in charge start losing their head. Yeah, so let me talk about real estate. People gave me a grief. It was probably 2 years ago that I did this video, and I said it's very, very possible because of the real estate industry getting decimated during the last downturn. And it wasn't until about 2016 that the last short sales and foreclosures were cleaned up. So there were no building because there was all these properties that had to be, basically bought up before you could build more. So, I mean, if there was building, but just minuscule, so it was insignificant. So what's happened is, all those people were laid off for years. They went and did something else. They went back to Mexico, whatever, but they went and did something else. So they've had to rebuild this whole industry back up. And now, I mean, everything's banging on full cylinders. I mean, everywhere I look, they're freaking, I forget what the word is, but they're scraping the ground, cleaning it up, getting ready for building more stuff. And I'm seeing, lumber everywhere stacked up and concrete trucks and all this stuff. So I don't know that it's too high. My predictions were saying at that time, based on some of the stuff I was looking at, we were going to see real estate from a couple years ago going 4 to 8 times by the end of the decade. And it's not a straight up thing. So you're going to see these things where it kind of runs up, comes down, runs up way more, comes down. It's like a sawtooth. And some of what's happening right now with the price of lumber, it's affecting new starts, but existing home prices keep coming up because they got to buy something. People are still, graduating school, starting their jobs, and they need a house to live and whatever. But what's going to happen is, and they haven't raised interest rates, they haven't done any of this stuff. So it's still possible we're going to see. And by the way, the biggest changes in increase happened in the last couple of years. So we've been seeing, I forget what the number was. We're like 22% year to date, I think, on res. That's residential real estate. That's a humongous increase, not even halfway through the year. So if you come back and look at the end of the year and we got a 40% increase, and you do that several years in a row, it's potentially going to be unbelievable returns, and it's going to factor in very closely with gold and silver and platinum and miners and everything. It's just there's maybe a little more work involved in real estate, but if you're renting and the government stays out of your business, you're getting paid every month. So, and you got to not cuss because it blocks you when you, even though the way you did it, it figured out that what you wrote. So unfortunately, if I say show it, then it ends up demonetizing. Yeah, balanced budget. I don't think that we'll ever see that again. Um, rent mortgage moratoriums to end. We haven't had any moratoriums on rent that I'm aware of, except for you couldn't evict. Commercial real estate, yes. I'm going to tell you, back in 2012, when I first started buying my rental properties, I knew of a company. It's actually an investment company. I just scratched myself. And he was buying the commercial real estate. And I was sitting there looking at him saying, I hope you know what you're doing, because people always need a place to live. But a lot of times I see the business cycle contract, and commercial real estate really gets hit worse. And so I probably should call him up and say, hey, it's been many years since I talked to you. I want to know how it's worked for you. But I know in the residential real estate, it just seems like it's very conservative. Now, maybe these other things, you make a lot of money real quick, and then you just turn the properties over or something. That was always something that I had in mind. If all hell breaks loose, we just turn it back over to bank. I got my money anyways. I'm kind of hoping by. So another thing that I'm doing on my rental properties. Anybody that's doing rental properties, think about this. Do not do long-term leases anymore. When the lease is up after a year, which a lot of my tenants, they stay, say minimum 3 to 4 years, just go month to month. Because if you don't have a lease, when they quit paying, that's one of the ways that allows you to, and I heard this works in every state except for like California. So if you're going month to month, you don't have a contract anymore, and it's easier to kind of get through them. But I will tell you this: I will work and work and work and work and work with my tenants, because most of them are not problems. They just get into trouble. And I've had 2 tenants that have paid me back everything in very large sums. I have one more tenant that I evicted early last year that I'm about ready to apply all the resources. I was waiting for things to settle in because one of them skipped the state. So now it's been long enough, I'm going to go after those 2 for money that they owe me, and see how that'll work. What's going on here? Okay. Somebody asked me what I was using for rabbit feed. Even though I got rid of my rabbits a year ago, I had a lot of research on what I did, and so I passed it on to them. Some of those, I'm gonna tell you, all the videos that I've done, the dog and rabbit videos, those got the most views of anything, and I don't even have rabbits anymore. I bet you I could go back and pull all my videos together about rabbits and make more videos based on that, just to tell everybody what I learned. But because of what happened in my life, it was just one more thing that was just too much work. So I would love to get I love the rabbits. They were really sweet. And it was a lot of fun doing the animal husbandry. There was a name specifically for rabbits. I forget what it was now. 53 minutes. Golly, time went fast. But see, this time I had my water, so I kept my voice lubricated. That helped a lot. Yeah, the rabbits I grew were humongous. I don't know. Right now, unless I still have thought about, I need to get like an old couple or something to live down in the basement to help try to go through, maintain what I got, and I'll just, help kind of get things when we do the changeover, get them started. But it sure would be easier if I had like an older couple that liked to garden and liked to do the animal stuff. And so that's something I'm still thinking about. A lot of work. I like doing it though, but it's a lot of work. I'd like to do more fishing too. Why you guys don't like my fake Yeti? I'm telling you what, I bet you this thing lasts longer than the Yeti does. I've had this a long time. I mean, I've been retired since early 2017, and I probably got this 2 years before that. And I use this every day. Is it Andes? Let me think about it. Let me look it up. Andes. Let's see. Here we go. I'm trying to find the stainless ones. I think it's called Andes Mountain. They got all these funky colors on here. They don't even look the same anymore. Things are all like 20 bucks. Yeah, I think it's Andes Mountain. I was trying to find the AM that I'm looking on here, but this is like some other website. Nobody likes my fake Yeti. I don't care. Remember that A on the end of my thing, Dobson 777? That's Alpha, buddy. I'll tell you, the rabbits we had, because I had them so long, there were multiple generations. They were so tame. It was unbelievable. And, you'd open the thing up and you'd be trying to change the water and they'd jump up trying to get you to just hold them. They wanted to be held. They wanted to be petted. They were just like dogs. But, and I see people that have them in the house, but it's like, I never did that. These were not really pets, but, man, I tell you, they were huge. Some of these just got so big. It was impressive. I kind of wish, well, it's just time. I had every idea that I was going to save pelts and actually try to make a coat or something out of it. But, there's a lot of work that you got to go through to tan the hides and stuff. And I just never had the time. But, if I ended up with 3 or 4 people in this house, make it more like a homestead where everybody had shared in the work, it would actually be something that I think would be kind of neat. I mean, God, I would love to make a beautiful jacket out of rabbit, because I mean it is unbelievably gorgeous fur. Make gloves, make hats, make all this stuff. We actually have pretty good attendance tonight. We got 36 people right now and 19 thumbs up. Well, we're at 58 minutes, so we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Any other questions, comments, complaints? Trying to get my grandson to come spend some time with me. He gets out of school on June 10th, and it sure would be fun to have him here for a couple weeks. That kid is a blast. He just turned 6. For some reason, I thought he was 7. Or no. Well, he told me today what he was. Is he 5 or 6? I think he said he's 5. I don't know. I'm going to be in trouble now because he told me and I forgot already. I got to go back and do the math. I kind of had it all set up where they were, I think he's 5. Okay. Because I thought my grandson and granddaughter were 2 years apart, but they're actually 3 years apart. And that's what kind of threw off my math. It's kind of like my own children. I have to go back and think about, when they were born, start counting through, because I just don't think about it every year, what their ages are. I just know they're in their 30s. That's close enough for Dad, isn't it? I do have it written down in my wallet, so I can pull it up and do the math. How many of the guys remember all this stuff? Isn't that the wife's job? Until you don't have a wife. I have to put it in the phone and say, how old is my grandson? But I have 2 grandsons, so I have to be more specific. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any more comments. I guess we answered everything. So why don't we shut her down? So I hope everybody's been treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.